with Nico taking the reins, when have you last been this excited about the Vols starting quarterback? Josh Dobbs, 29%. Tyler Bray, 2%. Peyton Manning, 40%. Never been this excited, 29%. What do you make of that group?
From the outside of other people's opinions, Dave, I think there can only be two choices from what I see, and that's either Peyton or never. Because unfortunately, it's been more than 25 years since Peyton was even playing at Tennessee. So there's a fair percentage of the fan base that didn't get a chance to be excited about Peyton. There might be some fans that were excited about Peyton that are even more excited about Nico, but the Nico hype and the buildup and the excitement that I already see is greater than what it was for Dobbs and for Tyler Bray. And I'm not sure it's comparable, the two. I think there's some revisionist history in how people felt about Dobbs after the fact. So the Nico hype, the excitement, the buildup, it is a lot. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. If you're fired up, if you're changing your expectations, that's kind of what college football is all about. But I think Nico is more comparable to Peyton than anybody since them. And before that, I'm not even sure what you would say. So I think that's the class that Nico is in terms of the talk, the hype, the buildup.
Now, we included two quarterbacks, or we didn't include them because you only have so much space on the YouTube poll. But there were two that I didn't include that Caleb suggested at our 3:45 a.m. meeting. And here's why. Eric Ainge and Casey Clausen. Well, I think that Clausen was a little bit of an unknown. Certainly people were excited to have him at Tennessee. And then with Ainge, there was the competition with Schaefer, and some people were Schaefer guys. So that's why I didn't include them. I don't even think it's arguable. I think it's never. And the reason I say never is because, Josh, you really had to be a hardcore football fan to know, I know this sounds crazy, but to know Peyton Manning was signing with UT back then. I mean, recruiting wasn't covered like that in the early 90s. I think it has to be never.
Yeah, that's a fair point. If you include, and I have another one too, if you include the internet age, it's not, there is no comparison. What we have now versus then. I agree with you on the Ainge and Schaefer, there was a split, and it was more about, okay, hey, that's cool. We have freshmen that are starting, but they didn't compare to the Nico hype and buildup. Same with T, same with Casey. There was this excitement about the quarterback coming in from California, but also there was the dual quarterback aspect with Ainge and Schaefer, with Rattay and Clausen when he arrived, and Casey quickly beat him out, and Rattay left almost immediately. And then even with Peyton, Dave, that first year in 94, it was not unanimous on Peyton's side. There was a lot of Brandon Stewart believers that, hey, this is the guy with his athleticism and what he would be able to do. Obviously, that changed as time went on. So part of it depends on the timeline you're choosing. And once you were fully on board with Peyton, the buildup was quick. But it's immediate with Nico. He doesn't have any other quarterback that he's competing with in this conversation. And I don't think the other quarterbacks in the last 20 years at least are comparable to Nico with the amount of excitement the fan base has before he really even gets started.
Caleb, jump in here, but it feels like with Clausen, Manning, Ainge, all those, it's like we'll see. Whereas what we've heard from reports out of practice with Nico and the way he played against Iowa, it's like almost a proven commodity. Maybe not fair, maybe ahead of ourselves, but it feels different than those other guys.
Okay, let me reroute this. Let's compare not them coming in. What about Nico compared to, because this is technically, he just finished his first year. He has started a game now against Iowa. Can we compare it to Peyton Manning going into his sophomore year or Casey Clausen going into his sophomore year? Because they both did finish the previous season, and they both finished really strong. I mean, Casey had an epic game-winning drive at South Carolina. Peyton Manning won 6 or 7 games to close out his freshman year. So do you think the hype for Nico with just one start still supersedes the hype for Peyton entering his sophomore year in 95 when we knew he was going to be the guy at that point? Or Casey entering his sophomore year in 01?
I think if you Josh, you go. Sorry.
Well, I would say yes to Casey. This is no knock on Casey. I love Casey. I still think he's underrated in what he was as a quarterback. In terms of the hype and fans being all about him, yeah, Nico is ahead of Casey. Peyton's more comparable. Peyton finished with the bowl win, and you had that to carry into the offseason just like Nico. But I mean, Nico is getting a ton of, hey, we're going to the playoff talk. And it's a playoff now. It's not, there was no 12-team playoff to talk about 94 into 95. That's another reason it's difficult to make the comparison. But I don't think Nico takes a back seat to anybody when it comes to hype. I mean, that's going to apply to a lot of quarterbacks and a lot of programs. It's wild. But that's why this is special in terms of the potential that is there. Because if he can come close to matching what the hype is, then the next couple of years are going to be a lot of fun for Tennessee fans. So it might be about equal. Like you adjust for inflation. If you adjust for the internet and social media, I think it's very comparable, Nico and Peyton. But I just, with what I'm watching right now and what I think is going to happen over the next 8 months, I don't think Nico's taking a backseat to anybody when it comes to hype and excitement.
All right, so let's just say it. Is this the most highly anticipated player in the history of Tennessee football?
He is up there with anybody. Yes.
Man, I can't because of the internet. Yeah,
like from a recruiting ranking standpoint, the amount of coverage that he's getting, and then you factor in modern day stuff. NIL, he has apparel that goes out right after the game, and fans are probably going to flock to it. When he sets up for autograph sessions, they're going to be crazy lines. So I don't think he has to look up at any list of Tennessee players when it comes to hype. That's not to say that he's going to be Peyton. Peyton's track record speaks for itself, and that's why I'm looking at this as an anticipation thing, because by the time Peyton was done, everybody knows how beloved he was. Fans became Colts fans just because he was going there. Tennessee fans were crying when he didn't win the Heisman Trophy. So what Peyton did speaks for itself, but the anticipation of 2024 compared to going into 1995, I think Nico's right up there.
So
thank you, Josh. Well, go ahead, Caleb.
Can we go broader? Because I agree with you guys. One, not just Nico's greatness, because I've said for a while, Josh, that if you could design a quarterback in a lab for this offensive-friendly system that Josh Heupel runs, it's Nico. Can we go broader? Could we say he rivals the Tim Tebow hype at Florida entering 2007?
I would say that.
Yeah, that's what it's like, because that is closer to this time. But Tebow going into his second year at Florida and what he could become. I don't. Trevor Lawrence would be tough because he already won a national title his freshman season. So there was crazy anticipation for what he would do, but he did it immediately.
Maybe Deshaun
Watson. Tebow's probably Tebow had a bigger impact as a freshman, but that's comparable in terms of just kind of over the top aspect to it.
What about Bryce Young? As far as highly anticipated, I felt like a lot of Alabama fans were just waiting for him to take over. Maybe that's one.
He was in such a long run. I mean, part of it is, I know that Hendon had his great run, but part of it is still the hunger among Tennessee fans to get back to the top. And Nico, to steal a line from Hendon, Nico's the chosen one. He's the chosen one for Tennessee to get back there. Bryce was the next one to do it for him. And they didn't win a title. He did win the Heisman. But Bryce was next man up. They had Jalen Hurts succeed. They had Tua succeed. They had Mac Jones succeed. Then it was Bryce Young's turn. Nico is the one to get Tennessee back to where Peyton had it. Then obviously T won the national title. Peyton won the SEC championship. But Peyton helped get Tennessee to that level where, okay, we're top 3 to 5. We are a player for the national title. Nico is that guy to Tennessee fans to do it again.